Okay, I'm the Kev Master. The thing I'm going to show here right now is that a lot of people make mistakes when they do coilovers or swap out shocks for the 9th generation Corolla. So what I'm going to show you is first how to disassemble it, and then how to reassemble the shock, and also the sequence that you need to follow when putting back the shock, so you don't get where the rod hits the inside of the car because the sequence or the parts were not put back correctly. Tim, it's almost 1 o'clock in the morning over here. You owe me for this, but I know the problem you're having, and I've had it before, so I'd like to help you out. So usually you're supposed to use 2 sides of a spring compressor, but since it's late, I'm gonna cheat and use 1. Typically you do wanna use 2 just to even out the pressure on the spring, so you don't load it unevenly. All right, so I'm gonna cheat here. Let's see, it's 21. So all right, my spring compressor uses a 21mm socket, so I'm gonna go use that. Another thing you need to be careful when you use the spring compressors is that if you load them up too much on one side, they'll actually hit against the top mount. So which is why I'm holding it off the top mount. So alright. You don't necessarily need pneumatic tools, but it's a lot easier with pneumatic tools. So alright, I'm just using this to hold the spring for this demonstration, so the top mount doesn't come completely flying off it. So let's see. The top mount uses a 17mm socket, so I'm gonna do that. So you're gonna notice there's a nut, there's a washer, and then well, I guess that shortcut wouldn't work, so I need my other spring compressor. So you want to put them exactly 90 degrees opposite from each other. So I'm going to do that. And put the 21 back. There. So as you can see, now I've loosened the top mount, right? There's a boot right here. Okay, it's not terribly different from your aftermarket. It looks slightly different, but the concept works the same. On your aftermarket shocks, usually you'll have, you take this off, they will have a clip that will go around, usually with a spring clip underneath, and then it'll have a collar type thing that goes over it like it does here. Alright, so you need that. Then there are bump stops here, dust covers here. So some manufacturers, this part will be plastic. Some manufacturers, this part will be in rubber. Alright, so all you need to do is make sure you put the spring back in. Alright, since you're trying to put the stock shocks back on your car. Alright, you put it back in. Put your dust cover with the washer on here, and let's see. Alright, so if I break this apart, so you'll have a washer there, and the bump stop, this rubber bump stop, stuck to this dust cover, so I can't take that off. So alright, it's gonna go back in just like that. So okay, well, for your benefit, I'll take it apart completely. Alright. So there's your bare shock. Alright, so what you're going to do is you're going to take your stock spring, put it back up, and make sure that the spring locks in this position right there. Make sure it locks in right. Okay, you want to take that, put it back on there. Don't worry about the dust cover. So alright, so you just put it back in there with that. Okay, so you put the dust cover back in. Don't worry about where it sits, because after you drop the car it will adjust itself. So you put that cover back on there on the boot if you want to hold it up. There you go, fits like that. So you can see how it locks there. Alright, so then the other part that you were asking me about, the bushing, there's actually two pieces to this bushing. I think you already know that, but I'll just do it since we're taking it apart. Alright, you'll see how there's actually kind of three pieces, but you see this thing doesn't really move in there. So you know, if it moves, it shouldn't be a big deal, because technically it's supposed to go down here and stop against here, and that's what that collar in there is for. So you're gonna stop it right there. It should stop right there. Okay, so that's what that collar is for, and that's what this kind of like a washer or spacer kind of thing is for, to hold it. So what happens is when you hit a big bump, the shock will compress, but the bump stop is to stop the rod from bottoming out inside the shock. So that's really what it does. So you know, if you happen to have all these apart, it's fine. So you can put this back in like that. Okay, then you're gonna put the top mount back on. Well, nope, not yet. So what you want to do is you want to put the rubber back in. So it goes one way, only one way. So you'll be able to figure out when you see it. So okay. So all right. So, but when you do that, make sure it lines up. You can see there'll be an indentation on the rubber. Make sure that goes on the end of the spring. So I'm gonna make sure this thing's lined up. Put that rubber cover back on where it's supposed to be. Give it a lock into place. Then put this back on the top. Alright. Let's see. Okay. So now you see it's all back in one piece. I'm gonna put that bushing on top. Right. And then the washer. That washer will actually stop the shock from stop the shock from pumping it out all the way. So there you have it. I've reassembled the shock, and if you want right now I can tighten it up. So if you're doing you don't need pneumatic tools. Pneumatic tools make it a lot easier, but you have to do it yourself. All you need on the stock shock is you need a 17mm right here. If you have spring compressors, they're usually about 3/4 inch or 21mm. You need a 19mm. So basically, what was this? Well, 3/4. No, yeah, 21mm. Yeah, I think it's 3/4. Yeah, it's close enough. Basically, if you are doing it without pneumatic tools, you'll need what's this? A 17mm wrench for the top. You'll need a 21mm wrench socket here. So you can use a wrench socket on the top here too, right? And on the bottom here, you need a 19mm wrench socket. Now on the car, for these studs, there are two 14mm 14mm nuts, and then there is one 14mm bolt that is on the outside of the car. So that's pretty much all you need. So right now I'm just gonna tighten this back up and take the spring compressors off. So that should be good for now. The torque specs should be available online. And yeah, just follow the manufacturer torque specs, and I generally don't recommend over torquing them. People do. I'm just one of those crazy people that just follows the specs on everything pretty much. So there you have it. Hope you have some good luck tomorrow reassembling your struts. This is the Kev Master signing out. Have fun upgrading your suspension on your 9th gen Corolla, regardless of what manufacturer you use. Understand that the principles behind it's the same, because most manufacturers use the stock top mounts on the rears, and given that I've had experience with the rods not fitting properly, it's usually because some of the parts are not put back correctly in the correct sequence, or the parts are sometimes you work between two sets and they've got slightly different parts, and you miss parts, and that that's where the rod starts hitting the inside of the car, because you've got a little bit too much travel. Other than that, that's all. See ya.